Dan Walker, BBC presenter, frontman of Songs of Praise, Match of the Day and Football Focus. He was also born and raised in Crawley, and here he is today. Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Can you tell us a little bit about your time in Crawley?
Like I said, I was born in Crawley, Crawley Hospital, and stayed there till I was 18 when I went to university in Sheffield. In that time, I started off I went to Ifield Primary School, and then I went to 3 British Middle School. So I moved around a bit and eventually got to Hazelwick from 12 onwards. So my mum and dad still live in Crawley. My brother and his wife still live there, and then I've got another 2 sisters who are various parts of the country. So I get to go back pretty regularly. Normally, Christmas, New Year, that sort of stuff. And every time I go back, I like to check out what's happening, because I always go down. I have this little ritual where I go to Queen Square to see what they've changed. And I've always been disappointed that they got rid of the cinema and replaced it with a Morrison's and a travel lodge, you tell me. And I remember next to that, the bowling alley, and we always used to call it Peep's Golden Griddle, even though I found out later in life it was actually Pepe's Golden Griddle. But yeah, I have very fond memories of growing up in Crawley, and I know it's changed a lot since I sort of left permanently when I was 18, but it's always nice to go back, and I've still got lots of friends and familiar faces and family there as well. So yeah, I'm very proud of the fact that
we're very proud to boast you coming from here.
Oh, that's very nice.
You started in Crawley and now you work in Manchester, both home to different Red Devils. Would you say you're more
see what we've done there,
Fred the Red or Reggie the Red?
Who cares? Who cares about the Manchester lot? It's all about Crawley Town. I mean, my dad used to take me to go and see Crawley at their old ground, Town Mead. We used to stand on the back of the Crawley Luxury stand with the, if the game was really dull, I'd look over at the guy who was cleaning the coaches on a Saturday afternoon. But that's the football that I grew up watching. My dad was a big Spurs fan, so I remember he took me to see Glenn Hoddle play at White Hart Lane for my birthday when I was 10 years old. But every Saturday we'd go down there. I remember he'd have an apple. I had to save up to go and get a marathon bar, as it was then, or a Snickers. But I used to love going to watch Crawley play. I still remember we had always used to play in the Beezer Homes Premier, and used to have the occasional good run in the Sussex Cup. Tony Vesey was one of my footballing heroes growing up. I used to love watching him with his crazy mullet. And I still remember, I was a bit older at this time when David Speedy came to play for Crawley Town, and he was so much better than the rest of the players. We just had time on the ball. He got sent off virtually every match because he found the standard of football very frustrating. But I loved watching them then, and then to see the team go on that great cup run a few years ago and actually go and play against Manchester United at Old Trafford. I took Lee Dixon to the game where we beat Derby and Sergio Torres scored, and I think it sort of reignited Lee's love of football, because he saw the passion of the Crawley fans on that night. It was a great game, and I know this season's ended in a bit of misery and relegation to League Two, but for Crawley to be in league football is, still for me who grew up watching them play non-league, is brilliant. I know it's disappointing to be in League Two rather than League One. We want to get as high as we can, but who knows? We might return quicker than people think. Yeah.
And lastly, we've read your messages to Des Lynam, complimenting his moustache, age 11. I guess the question is, if there's people from Crawley, young people perhaps, looking at yourself as a successful product of the town, what advice would you give to those youngsters looking to grow up to be someone like you?
Well, I wrote to Des Lynam when I was 11, and sort of said, "Dear Des, I love your moustache. How do I get your job?" And I talked about that when I went on Celebrity Mastermind, and I've done a few other interviews, and I often mention the Des Lynam story because people are interested in it. And as soon as I mention it to anybody, they then write me a letter and said, "Right, well, you're sort of in that similar sort of position now. How do I get your job?" And I always try and write back and try and be as positive as I possibly can. Because growing up in Crawley, I was just a kid who was obsessed with sport, and I worked my first job was in McDonald's, just around the corner from the bus station. I worked there for 4 weeks, and I remember when I left McDonald's to go and work in Dillon's, a bookstore in County Moor, which is a big move up, 10p extra an hour, by the way.
Promotion,
the guy who was in charge, the senior manager at McDonald's, said, still the greatest compliment I've ever been paid in the professional sphere. He said, "Dan, you can't go. Nobody works a chicken station like you," which was, at the time, it was huge. And I was good on the ticket station. So I worked there, I worked in Dillon's, and then I went off to university. I never really thought that I would go into this line of work. I wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And despite the fact I've written that letter to Des, it just sort of, I suppose some doors closed and others opened. And I did a degree in history, I did another degree in broadcast journalism, I got a job in local radio, and then it just went on from there. And I've never met, whenever people ask me for advice, I've never met anybody who's got anywhere in the industry that I currently work in without working hard. And I always think there's three important things to sort of follow. One is to have an idea, the sort of thing you'd like to do in the future, not maybe like the ideal job, and then you can try and tailor the work experience that you do, the things that you practice on to be that TV presenter, radio presenter, write for a magazine, be a print journalist, whatever it might be. If you come into it thinking, I just want to be famous, that's totally the wrong attitude to have. I do this job because I love doing the job. I like asking people questions. I like going to interview Mourinho, Sir Alex Ferguson, top sports stars and politicians and all that sort of stuff. I love doing that. I don't do it because I like to see my face on the telly. So have an idea of what you want to do is the first thing. The second thing is then to practice, and that's probably the most important thing. I used to stand in front of a mirror and practice a news report to it. I'd do football commentary, turn down the sound on Match of the Day on a live game and do it myself. I'd commentate on people walking down the street, my brother reading a book, whatever it might be. I just tried to make life around me interesting by talking about it. And I think that's why originally I went into commentary and then moved into radio and TV presenting and stuff like that. So that's really important. And it might be that you want to be write a football report or be a political journalist or whatever it might be. Just practice it. Find the people that you think are good and try and do what they do. And don't copy them, but develop your own style, but learn from some of the mistakes they make, but also the really good stuff that they do. So practice is important. And the third thing would be, when you get that opportunity, make sure you are in as good a place as you can be. And that comes from doing that work experience, doing that practice, and knowing what you want to do. So when there's a little chink in the door, shove your head in, wedge your arm in, and prove to whoever it is that gives you that chance that you are indispensable. So maybe it's one day down the line, a week down the line, a month down the line, when they say, we want to get Will back, we want to get Jim back, we want to get Dan back, they were the best that we've had. That's when that opportunity presents itself. And then because you've been so good, so enthusiastic, on time, never leave early, make a great cup of tea, all those, I know it sounds small, but it's really important. And they will remember you, and that's sometimes how those opportunities come about. So that is the advice I always give. And just be prepared to work hard. And the fourth thing, there is a fourth thing, is people assume you just earn loads of money, and you don't. I had 2 degrees, I had a first and a 2-1, and I had 3 people working underneath me within 6 months of getting my first job, and I was earning £7,500 to start with, and I got a promotion that went to £8,500. So my take home money each month was £756. So there's not there's not a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Definitely.
But there's hard work, but it's an incredibly rewarding job. And whenever I go and talk to university students about this, I always say that it's a great job because you're searching for the truth. And it might be that you work in the world of celebrity, or you're working in football, or you're working in news, whatever it might be. You are asking questions which you want answers to, and it's your job then to report that back, to write it up, to go on a camera, to hold the microphone and tell other people what that truth is. And I think that's a really important and increasingly crucial job, and that's a real privilege to do it.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time today.
Pleasure.
That's Dan Walker. That is his Crawley.
My Crawley. I thought the strand was called My Crawley.
My Crawley.
It's My Crawley. It's not his Crawley.
Stay tuned.
It's our
Crawley.
Crawley.
Next time. It's our Crawley.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Cheers.